Truth Talks. Please, I'm excited about the Truth Talks. They are addressing true fellowship and what it means, what true fellowship and corporate worship looks like according to the Bible.
All right. So we're still talking about Elijah. And Elijah has now done what? How many miracles? 0. It's always a trick question. The whole Bible is a bunch of trick questions that make you think that everybody else is doing something, and the whole point of the Bible is for you to look at the true person that's doing it. Elijah was just a prophet that was telling of the word of God, and then it came true. Now, why do I say that? Because everything that we've seen Elijah do up to this point is kind of different, especially being done in Israel. We've seen Elijah sustain in a place where water should not have. Now, why am I bringing this back up about this whole water thing? Because we already on a miracle. Elijah just prayed over the young man 3 times in the bed and up jumped the boogie. He went downstairs and said, "Mom, where's the cookies?" That's how fast it seemed like it was, right? But why am I bringing back up the water? It is a drought. And this drought is getting ready to get the attention of a king, right? Because the king is now saying, hey, we need to find Elijah. Or is he saying we need to get the rain going? Or he's saying we need to find places to water our cattle? Which one is it? Anybody read ahead? Water for his cattle, right? So he's only looking out for himself. There's a famine. You're the king. And the only thing you want to do is find where the water is for yourself. And if you think about what's been going on, who would have been the only one that would have known when the water was? So this was a hunt for water, right? But it was also ultimately a hunt for someone else, the person who they thought could control the water. Now remember when I was talking about earlier, Elijah didn't have the power, but yet you still see how people follow him. They want to know where he's going, where he's in the land, because they know where Elijah go, the word of God is. Right now, the word of God has told the heavens to shut up, and there will be no rain on the land in Israel. Judah is nice and quiet. If you, like I said, when we looked at this from the historical side, you go and look at all the historical documents, there is nothing pointing to a drought in Judah at that time. It was strictly just in Israel, that half of the kingdom. I explained to you on the beginning how the water affected all the way down, or it ran from up north to south, right? What kingdom is being dealt with right now? The north? Israel's the north? All right. Just saying. So who should have got the water cut off? Everybody see how this is working out, where we see the miracle of what's happening. It just didn't start with that. The water was cut off up top. The ravines didn't fill, but the waters down low, they kept filling. Judah never experienced a famine, no drought. Because Judah is right now is in what with God? Good state. I'm glad we didn't say they're the good guys versus the bad guys. Because right now, Judah is just in good standing. When we look at the kings, right? Remember what I told you? It was a couple things I said way, way, way back that I'm going to point out. I'm going to point out the what? Anybody remember? I know it was a long time ago. Huh? The path of Christ. Adam, eventually we're going to see Adam on both sides. We're going to see Adam all the way through. Then we'll see Mary's side. And then we'll see Joseph's side. But right now, we're still seeing the nations being dealt with as a whole. It hasn't really trickled down to individual lines. David's line is being maintained because that is what? Remember we read way back in Samuel? It was a promise, right? So that line is being maintained and protected because right now it is in good standing. The promise can still stand, but the throne itself can be vacated until someone else worthy is sitting on it. Right now we're starting to see we're starting to see the 10 tribes go in their own way away from God. All right, so keep that in mind, because now Elijah is getting ready to start to address some of those things that's going on. Where were we at again? 17. We was on 18. All right. So the son lives in 24, and the woman said to Elijah. Now, also remember last week, I mentioned this and I'm going to mention it again. Not so much for where we are now, but the way. Remember the way that was made. Elijah's leading the way for miracles, not miracles that have we like that not have that haven't been done, because we've seen plenty of miracles up into here. But these are very specific miracles in a dry time. Elijah has water. Elijah is multiplying food and oil. Well, not Elijah in the sense of where he's going. God is multiplying the food and the water for this woman. Her son died. He brought him back to life. So now this would have been something that would have went out as a story in Israel. He would have been telling of this thing that has happened. Keep that in mind, because Elijah doesn't really answer that, but Elisha does. How these things are opening up the doorway to where we go. All right. So now he stayed with this woman. We've seen what she did for him, the water. And I know I keep repeating things because it's a transition now. Elijah's now getting ready to go back, but I don't want you to forget what has just transpired with this lady. She has seen miracles, and now she's going to tell about it, or they would have been told about. All right. After many days came to be that the word of the Lord came to Elijah. And in the third year, saying, go, present yourself to Ahab. I give rain on earth. Now, remember we had that question. Who was the one to give rain on earth? The answers come. The I is the one who gives rain on the earth, because the I is the one who put the word in Elijah's mouth to go and say it be done. Thereupon Elijah went and presented himself to Ahab. And the scarcity of food in Samaria was severe. So Elijah has now represented himself to Ahab. So he stands in front of him again. And Ahab, well, he's going to present himself. And Ahab called to Obadiah, who was over his house. Now Obadiah feared. Now we read this before, right? Y'all remember when I was telling y'all earlier? We talked about Obadiah. This is where we took the pause to go back to Elijah. This is where the story is now catching up with Elijah. And Ahab called Obadiah, and who was over his house. Now Obadiah feared the Lord exceedingly. So we have someone inside of Ahab's house that is faithful to the Lord. Not a prophet, just someone that is faithful to the Lord. Now remember all of the things that we learned back in the day, how the priests, they were all out through the land, they were doing the sacrifices, making sure the law was upheld. What is going on with Samaria right now? Drought. That's the physical. That's the physical implication of what brought on this drought. Disobedience, right? Spiritual disobedience. So we're getting ready to see that spiritual disobedience confronted, but we're seeing that it wasn't priests, it was just still faithful people around. He's going to tell of his story. So Obadiah and Ahab, they're on the road, right? And Ahab says, hey, kind of condensing it here, but I'm going to continue to read. Ahab says, hey, this is what I want to do. Me and you, we're going to split up. And Obadiah says, bet. I'm going to go this way, you're going to go that way. And Ahab said, all right. So while Obadiah was out, he bumps into Elijah, because Elijah was on his way to do what? Present himself to Ahab. Just so happened he presented himself to Obadiah. Now, Obadiah is a man who was like, wait a minute. I have just been put in a situation that could lead me to death. Do you understand why I'm kind of pausing here? Recognizing situations that could lead to your death before they start happening. You know, kind of understanding who you're standing before, know where you're standing at. Obadiah knew that Ahab, this message about Elijah being looked for, and now Elijah being found, but not by Ahab, but Obadiah is like, man, can you go tell Ahab I'm right here waiting for you? Now Obadiah is thinking like this. I've seen many people pull this one off, say that Elijah was here, and he was gone the next minute, and it didn't work out. Before you send me off to my death, let me give you my backstory. Remember when Jezebel was out here murdering priests, killing everybody? Remember that? I took 100 of them, and I hid them. That didn't get him off the hook. That was just a cool story to say, you're better suited to do the work then because you know what needs to be done. But he gave him reassurance. And what was the reassurance to those who read ahead? Let's just read it together. Now we know, and it came to be while Jezebel cut down the prophets of the Lord that Obadiah had taken 100 prophets and hidden them 50 to a cave, and he fed them with bread and water. That means he gave up some of the things in his household. Even though he was over Ahab's house, you have to think bread and water is scarce. So he's feeding people during this time. And Ahab had said to Obadiah, go into the land, all the springs of water, into all the valleys or ravines, some may say wadis. It could be that we find grass to keep the horses and the mules alive and not have any livestock cut off. So you see where Ahab's mind is, not on the people, trying to keep the livestock. And as Obadiah was on his way, then see, Elijah met him, and he recognized him. And he fell to his face and says, is that you, my master, Elijah? Now, you're going to see a lot of people call Elijah master, but it's going to be one, we get ready to see a transition where Elijah is going to be looked at as like a father. Stay with me here. Huh? Lord, master, they're synonymous words. So without going in depth, if you hear me say Lord, Lord and master, they both go together. Same word, same terminology as steps in vocab, language, lordships became, the word got associated. So it just really means master, the one over your life. That's just a longer sentence to say. Because at this time, is Elijah the one that's in control of his life? Remember what I said, he recognized authority. Now, Elijah was a recognized authority, but he wasn't the authority. Who knew who Elijah represented? Where was that? Anybody got me? 8. And he answers him. 8, 9, 8. All right. It is I. Go and say to your master. Who's the master he's talking about? Ahab. Now we see some split in the legion here, right? Which master? We know that we know he's talking about the earthly master, where he's at, who he works for. We know the Deuteronomical law would tell him that he would have to be a faithful servant to his master. So this wouldn't have been, most people would get here and they say, whoa, he's violating the law, he's calling out the Lord, but he's also still maintaining the law, because look what he did. He's taking care of the people. He's still faithful to his master. He hasn't disobeyed any orders, but yet he's faithful to the Lord. You get where I'm going with this? This is the state of Israel, where people are getting killed for their faith. Some people have to hide it and still maintain their allegiance, because it's going to get later on. We're going to see this again with Elijah, and it's going to be kind of talked about. Can you forgive me, Lord, that when my master goes in and he tilts his head, I know I'm way far ahead, but we'll get there. The reason why I'm dipping toes into waters now is because if you don't understand what Elijah was doing, you won't understand what he asked for when he said, give me a double portion. They're working together, not apart. One messenger transferred to the next messenger. This guy was out here with bears and cloaks. All right, so now, and he said, what have I sinned? That you are, now when he said, what have I sinned? Do you think that Elijah could have ran down a laundry list of things and said, you still here in Israel? Like, you working for Ahab. He could have gave him a whole lot, because when we look at this, what happened to Jehoshaphat later on for working with the same person? You get what I'm saying? The repercussions wouldn't change. God is not unchanging. His authority was just who he dealt with in that situation, how he chose to deal with them. We're seeing the sovereignty of God, because we see people where you look in the scripture and be like, well, maybe me. And when I read it from the perspective of somebody standing there that has no right to judge anyone. And I ask the questions, because I feel like, hey, this could be me. What questions would I have for Elijah? So these questions he's asking him, first and foremost, like, what did I do wrong? Because haven't I been this good guy that took care of everything? Isn't that some of the things that when we look at like the New Testament, you see the Pharisees like, hey, I've done no wrong. Or you saying, what did I do wrong? How can you accuse me? So we see people fall, when we see the righteous people that are deemed righteous by the scriptures, not by the things that the law would say. We see that this man right now falls down to his knees, and he's asking, what have I sinned that you are giving your servant into the hands of Ahab to kill me? All right, let's unpack that. So now Ahab, who has sent him out to go look for water, he's found, like, Ahab does not know he found Elijah. But he understands that whatever he does from this point on could potentially lead to his death either way. Who are you going to obey? What are you going to do? Are you going to go deliver the message and die, possibly? Or are you going to deliver the message and live? You're going to go deliver the message. You get what I'm saying here? The fear part of it was irrelevant because the message still had to be delivered because you were the one that bumped into me and not Ahab. So let's consider this a choice encounter. All right. And Elijah reassured him, says, as the Lord your God lives, there is no nation or reign where the Lord or master has not sent to look for you. And when he said, he is not here, he made the kings or nations swear that they could not find you. We're seeing some of the power that Israel possessed. This wasn't a nation that was weak. This was a nation that was going up against other kings. And of these other kings, they considered themselves in their royal nation. They said, hey, if y'all holding Elijah here, we'll fight you. Because it was that important. Elijah was a wanted man. For Elijah walking up in here, up into Ahab, is equivalent to the movie scene where you got like the cops, they're on full alert for the city, and you got the detectives running all around and everybody in chaos, and the chief is on the phone. We can't find this guy. He's a wanted man. Everybody is looking for him. And then like the door opened in the police station, the guy be like, hello, everybody. I'm the guy you were looking for. All the cops kind of panic, and he's just like, are you not going to arrest me? Because everybody is shocked that the guy walked into the police station. This is equivalent to what Elijah is doing. He's walking in to death, where every other prophet has died. You remember they talked about the ones that had to be hidden, get out of the land. So Elijah is also now, you ever hear the thing is like, when you see the guys, now I know I'm painting pictures here that kind of modernize and bring together. When you see the guys and the guy is running and he grabs another guy and the guy be like, I don't want nothing to do with you, man. I don't want to die. You will get me killed too. Because you know, the guy who kind of like the comedic sidekick to get picked up and now he's just going along for the ride. Anybody see Speed? Y'all remember the guy with the car? That's my car, man. That's just kind of like Obadiah is doing right now. He's like, come on, man. These my camels, man. He's trying to get me killed. All right. But he's obedient. And he goes and do what he said. Even though he tells y'all what I already said, he said. And I'll read it for you. As the Lord lived, oh, no. He's not here. He's made the kings. And now you say, go and say to your master, Elijah is here. You want me to go and tell him this? And it shall be as soon as I'm gone from you that who going to take him away? So Elijah, even though he's telling him this reassurance and everything, Ahab is like, I know it's not you. Because soon as I leave, you might say you're going to be here. But I need reassurance. Obadiah is like, I need reassurance that you're going to be here, because if the Spirit of the Lord comes and say, Elijah, move, you won't stay here for my life. I need to be sure. Are you sure you're going to be here when I get back? Because I know how the Spirit of the Lord works. What you got?
We see this in the dichotomy, but even the humanness of the prophets. Because earlier on in the text, it said Obadiah, not that he feared the Lord, it said he feared the Lord greatly. That's what the text just said. Mm-hmm. So here you have Obadiah kind of looking like he's concerned about his own welfare when he's talking to Elijah here. Hey, you trying to get me killed and things like that. Mm-hmm. But the thing I want to bring out, Peter, was first the humanness of the prophets. We still see the human aspect. But the other thing, during this time, people understood authority. Whether they believed in the king or they believed in the prophet, people knew how prophets moved. They knew they had authority. They knew the king had authority at this time. And I just wanted to bring out the fact that even though they had a certain authority about them, people kind of submitted to that, to the fact that whether they believed in the Lord or not. Remember, the widow was like, "Wow, this is your God, this is your master." But she recognized the authority of Elijah as a prophet. Now here we have also I would like to bring that to a common theme here. We live in a world now that authority is kind of looked at sideways. Whether you agree with it or not, I often have many conversations with believers about
obeying those who rule over you, like the president and all these things. As long as they're not going against the word of God, we're supposed to respect that office. So, Peter, I just kind of wanted to, I know that's 2 points. We're seeing the humanness of Obadiah, but we also see how people have respect for authority in this.
Well, and again, I like the way you said it. You see in Obadiah, you seeing his humanness, you seeing everything on display, but he's laying his cards out because Obadiah is just like everybody else. Obadiah is stuck in a situation where there's no way that he comes out of this righteous. Do I go back and tell Ahab I saw Elijah, and then there's a possibility that Elijah is going to be gone because he's a wanted man? That's the human side of thinking. But I do recognize who Elijah is because Ahab himself he wants this man. He wants this man in front of him. In fact, it was Jezebel who wanted him because she hated him. But he wants this man because he wants him dead. But here's the dilemma. I know what the Lord does because when the cave was shut down or when everybody was looking for him, he sustained me enough with just oil and bread where I could put 50 people here, 50 people here. I am stuck in between a dilemma because I know the truth, but I'm stuck here. What can I do except ask the one who can make the decision while I have his attention? Elijah, will you stay if I go? Because one thing about the men of God, they were what? They were travelers, but they were what? They were honest. If I say I'm going to, because they're not saying they're going to be here for themselves. See, this question of Obadiah, he still lacked the understanding because he's in 2 places. He hasn't understood what the Lord can do for his priests. He saved them. But he also understands what Ahab can do. He works for him in his household. This man is stuck. So if I'm stuck in Ahab, when I was little, I used to have this theory in my head. I wasn't always a big guy. I'm still not a big guy. I was little. I was small. And I developed the thing because I lived on a block where it had, about 50-50 on each side, houses, streetwise, 50 houses. So consider like an environment where everybody's like a gauntlet. Sometimes you walk up this block and you may have to fight. Yeah, row houses. People, hey man, you might just walk by, somebody might be having a bad day. I say this to say this. When you recognize who you talk to because you know it's somebody bigger backing them, you understand that you got to deal with the bully in the street, but you understand the power that can come from the house too. So he's stuck. Ahab is a bully in the land. Look what he's doing. He's only thinking about himself. We all know what happens at the end of the story for Ahab. So Elijah is stuck. Obadiah is stuck between 2 situations. So and I say that to say this, when I was little, I would go in a house. Why would I try and take on a bigger bully? That's stupid. I'm gonna address this situation right now. Hey, big cousin, there's somebody outside. They want to beat the brakes off of me, but you're bigger. I'm gonna go outside right now, and I'm gonna start this. But I need you to come on. Are you gonna be? Because I don't want to go outside and start getting dusted off, and you stand on the porch laughing. I need to know you're gonna be here because I'm gonna do exactly what you told me to do. You see what I'm saying? We act like these situations don't exist in real life. They do. They existed in that real life. They exist in our real life. We all been stuck between the dilemma. Obadiah did the one thing that we all want to do, ask for assurance. Remember, this is the time where they didn't have assurance. What you got?
When you get in the next verses, it's because of what Elijah did when Jezebel started looking for him after the prophet. That's why he asked for insurance. Okay, the next verses when you get to them.
Okay. So let's get to the next verse. And now go say to your master, Elijah is here. He said, I'm gonna be here. And it shall be as soon as I'm gone from you, the Spirit of the Lord takes you away to a place I do not know. So if I come back here and I say he was here, he's already humbled kings and nations. I'm just a guy that works in his house. I need you to be here. And I shall come and report to Ahab. And when he does not find you, he shall kill me. He was looking for you to kill you, but when he don't find you, he gonna kill me. He gonna be that mad. So I can understand Obadiah's assurance. But I, your servant, have feared the Lord from my youth. I've been following you, your whole team, since I was a kid. I have I know I'm over here, but I've always went to the temple. I've always made my sacrifice. I always made that trip to Jerusalem, even though it was rough. I might have get killed. And if you don't believe this thing happens, look at the New Testament. That road that Samaritan was on, what was that road traveled for? Just think about it later on in life. All right. Sure.
It makes a statement, you fear the Lord with you. But then before this, he says, the spirit of the Lord will take you away. Now, if you believe this is a man of God, you're going to do like he tell you. This how you say he's caught between two. That you're going to fear Ahab. Where's your fear? Is it in right perspective? Because you make this statement, you fear the Lord since your youth, but the man of God is telling you what you're going to do, but you're afraid of giving your earthly master a false report.
He didn't have a lot of faith when in the face of Ahab. That's what happened.
So I get the question. Was he a man of faith? I say yes. I say he was a man of faith because he did what every believer should do. When you have a chance to ask the questions, ask. When you open up the scriptures and you start reading and things I don't know, ask. That is your opportunity to ask all the questions that you need to right here of the scriptures. The same way, because who is Elijah a representation of? Life. Right there. Like he's not truly, I don't think he's truly worried about Ahab. But he want to make sure, like we all want to be certain, like everybody wants that certainty. And these people did not have it. It's a time of famine. It's a time people are dying. I mean, they was going outside, get ready to cook up some sticks and some bread and call it quits. So when we look at this, it's not an optimistic time because just like you said, Jezebel wants Elijah dead too. It's not just Ahab. And remember, Jezebel is way worse than Ahab because Jezebel brought her own squad. Now, this is the thing about Ahab. Share a little I can only share things in my life that make sense to me. So in the Navy, when you make a certain rank, right, you're stuck in between limbo. Like you're stuck. You can't really go hang out with these guys because you're not that anymore. You can't really hang out with these guys because you ain't really came into you ain't there. Everybody kind of get like, so I didn't want to put it military, but you're kind of stuck in the middle. You know what I mean? You want to do all the right things in all the right places, but you got to lead a whole new different way. Elijah is asking this man to do a lot. I woke up this morning and I was in the house and I was like, all right, man, I know I got to go out here. Ahab going to come about 4 o'clock. We got to get this herd out here early. Got to go find this water. This land is horrible. All right, Ahab, I'm going to go this way. All right, bet. Whoa. Elijah. Why are you in the bump of Ahab? Like this is, like, do you understand what Obadiah, his gut must have been turning seeing Elijah, even though Obadiah didn't do anything wrong. And immediately he confessed everything he thought was good enough for the Lord. Remember that time I hid all them people for you, God? Remember that? This is what he's talking to Elijah. If you notice, Elijah's just kind of like one line in everybody. Go get bread. Here comes the ravens. Water. Like Elijah, now his dialogue, every time Elijah opened his mouth, says, thus says the Lord. Elijah, we have to think, Elijah was 2 weeks ago herding his goat in Gilead. I'm being facetious with the time frame here, but what I'm saying is these people are being put in situations for our understanding. So when we look at them, we say, man, Obadiah, how did you do it? The question is, how did Obadiah get out of this dire situation? How? He asked questions to save his life. So if I leave, you're going to be here, right? You sure? I'm going to go, but remember the people I saved? Oh, yeah, and by the way, was it not reported to my master what I did? Hold on. But I, your servant, have feared, and he's going to reiterate again. He told him before what good he did. He's going to say it again. Was it not reported to my master, you, what I did when Jezebel killed the prophets of the Lord, how I hid 100 men of the prophet, 50 to a cave, like I was breaking them down, and fed them with bread and water, like they didn't even know it was missing. And now you say, go to your master, Elijah is here. What wrong why didn't you just walk up to him yourself? What did I do to you for you to give me this message? That's what he think he's asking Elijah. That's because Elijah is a representative. And Elijah said, as the Lord of hosts lives before whom I stand, I shall indeed show myself today. You get what Elijah's doing? Elijah is in the presence. Yay or nay? Right? He said it himself. So Elijah isn't even saying, I'm talking anymore. Anything that I'm saying, it's coming from the Lord. What's going to keep happening is going to keep revving up. It's not going to rev back. So the next step now is what? Obadiah agrees, right? He said, well, I'm beat. I got everything to know that I'm going to come out of this alive. Not because Elijah guaranteed it, because the Lord said Elijah was going to be where? Right? He said as far as, because he wasn't saying, oh, Elijah is standing here. He said, yo, I'm in the presence of the Lord, and this is where he wants me. Because this is where I need to start talking and telling Ahab what's getting ready to go down. All right. So Obadiah then went to meet Ahab and informed him. And Ahab went to meet Elijah. See, the trade-off was like probably right down the road. If there was a turn, Ahab turned around. It's like, man, I'm about to run over and meet Elijah. Now, I want y'all to remember, this story is also going forward. So how does Ahab feel about prophets? He don't like them. But it's really not Ahab. It's his wife, Jezebel. And this right here, and this is what I was saying when I told you about being stuck between two things, is Obadiah. But now let's look at Ahab being stuck between two things. No, see, we see Ahab, but nobody's seen him stuck between two things. Ahab used to be part of Israel, right? But his culture now is more Baal worship, the Asheroth poles. So Ahab is really an Israelite that's not worshiping the God that he should be worshiping. Makes sense, right? So Ahab is stuck between two things. He's stuck between not having any faith and thinking that he has a fake faith. He's stuck. But this is by choice of God, right? God put him here because your daddy did this, they did that, they did that, they did that, they did that, and this is where we at, and you had an opportunity to fix it. Why do I say that Ahab had an opportunity to fix it?
Following his father's footsteps, but he did.
How is that proven in the scriptures? It says what?
He didn't. He was as bad as his predecessor. His father was king before him, and he did.
That's proven that he was a bad king, that he was wicked and followed. But how is it proven that he could have changed his ways and became a good king? Like Ahab doesn't get off. We say, oh man, when we talk about the kings, everybody just say, oh, they wicked kings. And yes, we know scripture history. We can't go and unwind it. But how do we know that Ahab wasn't going to be a good king? But how do we know that it was like anytime something happens in the scriptures, most of the times it's something on the other side to say you could have did that.
Like with Judah, start tearing down the temples and
you could have did that.
start teaching.
You could have did that. Do you understand that Ahab wasn't just wicked? He was willingly ignorant. You should have been following your people. Like every king that came into Judah and seen everything that was bad, they was like, wait a minute, this scroll right here was under here and Moses said read it, and I'm going to read it. I don't know what I'm reading, but I'm going to read it in the temple. In fact, you guys go outside and start teaching everybody, because we're all should be in the fear of the Lord. That needs to go out in the land. Y'all remember what king did that? I know, I'm talking about Jehoshaphat. What I'm trying to say is this: Ahab had an example. He actually kicked it with him in some way, shape, form, or fashion. They both pulled up their little procession. But Ahab not one time said, you know what? I'm going to tear down these temples that Jeroboam built because they're making the land wicked. Instead, he said, I'm going to go find water. He never said, let me consult the prophet so we can get this thing right. Instead, he chased them. He chased them to death. He wanted to kill them. You get what I'm saying? Ahab's wickedness wasn't in his action. It was already in his heart, and his actions just came out that way. But Jezebel was the thing that was she was like a cancer, because she was spreading herself. She came over, she's like, I don't like Yahweh. Let's put a temple right next to it. But I'm not going to just not like them. I'm going to kill anybody that I see approach that temple. But if they go in this temple, they are right. So you see the dilemma of what she was doing to the nation, that Ahab, if he would have just, hey, Joseph, what you doing over there in Judah? But that would have meant what? The land would have came back together, and it was never meant to be. I'm not saying these things to say, hey, let's point out the ups and downs. But I'm saying, like, it was never meant to be. This is how the scriptures were to go, but it gave us an example of what could have been so we could learn from it. If you see yourself going to Ahab type route and you hear everybody saying, hey, man, turn, you still can hear it. You see what I'm saying? It wasn't until he was dead that he stopped hearing. But we understand that he never turned because that was never for him. But we have examples that ran right beside him that was totally destined to turn. All right. So now let's get back to Elijah, because we're getting ready to get back into these kings. So I'm bringing them back into the picture slowly but surely. So Elijah now, Obadiah is left. And it came to be when Ahab saw Elijah that he said to him, it is you at last. Oh, now this word, I'm going to say it 3 different ways because it could mean 3 different ways when it comes from how Ahab was saying it. One way, disturber, meaning the land is at peace and you are making everyone here in civil unrest with the things that you just did over there at that house. Everybody in town is hearing about you restoring life. Everybody in town is hearing about this. You're causing an uproar in Israel that has never happened because the miracles are back in Israel. Like, whoa, miracles are back in Israel? Was there any miracles before this? Which one? In Israel? So the miracles are back in Israel. You see where I'm going with this? So now he has them, disturber, tormentor. You who are here is a constant reminder of our wrong. Remember what the demon said? Are you here to torment me before our time? Tormentor, remind them of what is to come. Elijah was a reminder. Ahab, you have already been prophesied. It's going to happen. But before that, let's put everything on display. Because ain't this what's getting ready to happen? You're getting ready to get a grand display of power. And it came to be, disturber, troubler, tormentor. In other words, he was somebody that Ahab looked at as someone who took away the peace of Israel. Disturbed. Not disturbed like, hey, you just keep coming around. Like, Israel couldn't have peace because he was in there. Now, here's the thing. He's the last one. That's what he's going to say next. Am I the last prophet in Israel? What you got?
So even prior to that, what did Ahab say before that? Any of the prophets, they had nothing good to say about it. So he that was part of his dilemma as well. I mean, it wasn't just Jezebel influenced him. Mm-hmm. He had all of this against him. He just, I mean, he told other kings. He told Jehoshaphat, was it Jehoshaphat? They have nothing good to say. Everything they say is against me. It's to my downfall. So
could it be that Ahab misunderstood what was being said? Think about it. The first prophet to approach Ahab, I think it was what? When his son was getting ready to die, right? His son was getting ready to die, and Ahab tried to deceive the prophet by dressing up, and it was a Jezebel. Who he sent? He sent his wife. So he sent his wife over there and tried to deceive, because he knew if I go up there, I'm not in good standings up there. So the whole deception thing, right? So do the prophets have bad things to say about Ahab because Ahab is just this nice guy and he's getting it right every time? The prophets don't come and say stuff to you for no reason. You could go through the entire Bible, and every prophet that came had something to say to a specific group of people. They came, and when we talk about dealing with the kings, he's talking to Ahab, right, as a king. But as we get further into the text, we're going to see that these prophets were not just talking to the kings. They were talking to the people. The people allowed this. Ahab was a king, yes. Why weren't they dying for it?
something is kind of implied in 17. Now all of a sudden you're concerned about Israel. Ahab says you're in trouble of Israel.
He's always been disturbed about Israel.
No,
he's always
concerned.
Ahab is concerned.
He was just concerned.
Oh, okay, I got what you're saying.
And his stuff. Now, when he's talking to Elijah, it's kind of like he's saying he's concerned about.
I get what you're saying.
The people. Now, the other thing I'm gonna add to that is it's a biblical worldview. Because here's the thing: Ahab sees Israel as in a state of peace. He sees it peaceful. Because if he didn't, he wouldn't say you're causing trouble in a land of peace.
Yes, he would.
We know that there is no peace apart from God, and at this point, there is no peace in Israel. This is why Elijah's on the scene. So it's kind of like, and I'm gonna give it back to you, Peter. It's kind of like even in the New Testament when the apostles came into a city. It said they viewed it and said, "Hey, you all came in here and turned this city upside down." No, the apostles came in to share the word of God, which is designed to turn the city right side up. So it's how you view things.
So when Ahab comes back to see Elijah, I want you to understand it's been 3 years and some change. Because remember here in 17:1, in Elijah, the Tishbite of Gilead said to Ahab, like Ahab knows who Elijah is. He knows Elijah is a prophet because he came and spoke prophetic words that happened. Now Elijah, who is now back and said, go get Ahab. I need to talk to him again because the rain is going to come. You're disturbing not because of the rain, because we want the rain. Remember, this was a message of good. Because here in 18:1, I give rain on the earth. He's saying I'm bringing rain back. Ahab should have been cool because he's looking for that. The disturbance of Israel was all that happened in 17. You are over here when Israel have these gods that we pray for. Because remember, they are praying to Balaam. They're praying to the Asheroth. They're not getting any prayer request answered. The prayer request book is getting filled up and is not getting updated because they are asking of a God that doesn't exist. So Ahab now looks at Elijah as saying, you have brought truth into Israel. You are providing food, water. You're bringing people back to life. That is disturbing because my wife Jezebel, who I'm now more connected to than you, she doesn't like that. And she has a whole bunch of priests here. You're doing things in Israel that ain't been done. In fact, everything is falling apart. So his disturbance was a spiritual disturbance that he was bringing back to say that spiritual disturbance is ending because the Lord is bringing rain back here. But Ahab understood that still didn't mean good for you. You didn't come back and say, Ahab, you're going to reign on the throne forever and ever. And the rain. No, you came here and you said the rain is coming. You didn't bring any good prophecy about me at all. I don't like you. Everybody else where the prophets go to, like when we look at Samuel, right? Samuel goes up and say, hey, Saul, boop, oil, you're a king, first of our kind. You know, prophets used to bring good messages until it wasn't. Now the prophets are coming in, they don't even really sit beside the kings anymore. They just go away and come back and bring the word of the Lord to the king that's fallen. Like from here on out, the prophets just bring messages. Hey, y'all guys need to get together. Hey, God is coming to destroy you. Hey, we're getting ready to go into captivity. Hey, all of these messages still echo. Hey, the Exodus is coming. Hey, do y'all remember how it was in Egypt when everybody was together and then they called it all up and we all left Egypt that night? It was so quick. Hey, do you remember? Do you remember? So he's bringing it back. He's bringing Israel back, but could it be too late? Well, we'll see. We'll see. All right. So as we go on. Hold on. I'm kind of 18. And he answered, I have not disturbed Israel, but you. Listen to where the disturbance come from. I haven't did it, but you in your house. What are you talking about, Ahab? I ain't do this. It wasn't me. It wasn't, no. No. Elijah came out and confronted the issue right then and there. He said, I ain't disturbed nothing. Remember when your daddy built them 2 rams up there? Remember when they did that? Remember when he kept going over here? Remember when you stole Nate? I haven't done anything. In fact, I love how 17 started. Elijah was just a Tishbite in Gilead, and one day God said, hey, go tell Ahab that it's not going to rain. Elijah he would rather be home right now playing this little PlayStation, having a good time, you know, skipping rocks, going out there building slings. I don't know what they would have did for fun, but do you think Elijah, like the next prophet that comes, he's weeping all the time. Do you understand these prophets were plucked out from their homes to do a job, to go and tell the word to people who were hardened of heart, hardened of head, and stubborn in ways, just so we can see what it looks like. You see? Ahab was just another person that the message was getting to. Elijah was just another person that the message was coming through. And these 2 forces just happen to run into each other, and I can guarantee you we all know how that goes. All right.
Ahab, he was more concerned with the misfortune, like the rain, than he was with being in trouble with God. You know, so when he said he was a troubler, it was the trouble that he was looking at was their own misfortune that they was going through. You know, and he felt like that misfortune was coming because of Elijah. At the same time, like you said, Elijah was doing something the other prophets didn't do. Well, maybe he was afraid also that the people was going to take to him and follow him like they was with Jesus. You know, Jesus came and did things that the other prophets didn't do. And so the Pharisees was afraid that those people was going to start following him. So now they want to kill him. So now we got Elijah the same way.
Well, this can be proven right here. If we continue the story, it's exactly Elijah is going to turn the people. Like, this is the thing. Notice how many people Elijah turned. Okay? Elijah. Double portion. Here we go. So he tells them why he's the disturber. Your father's house, is it that you have forsaken the command of the Lord and you have followed Baal? So now he's even went further, right? He's worshiping another god because this god is set up. Because remember, the 2 calves that were set up, they wasn't even gods. They was just calves set up for worship. But now Ahab has taken it a step further. He said, well, my wife Jezebel worshiped this. I'm going to worship it too. You see the difference? He took it a step further. He's not only worshiping calves, now he's worshiping Baal. And along with that, he said, now send and gather all of Israel to me on Mount Carmel, the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah. How many prophets is that together? 850. Who eats at whose table? If you notice, he didn't say Ahab's table, right? Ahab worshiped there, but whose table did he say bring him from? So who is this fight against? When we look at this, Ahab is not absolved of anything. Both of them die, right? But we see who is going the direct problem. Bring me Jezebel's folks. They're corrupting this land. It's time for a showdown. Y'all got a couple minutes? Now, Ahab, after seeing all of these things, hearing all of what Elijah did in the land, Ahab thinking that he got the best hand of cards. 1 verse 8, how many? How many was out there? 850. So 1 verse 850. Am my numbers off? All right. So one man called 850 people out to a show off. Now, when you think about it, I want y'all to understand this is a heavyweight fight, but it's totally one-sided. Anybody grew up watching Tyson? I did. We used to get them pay-per-views, and whoever went to watch to get popcorn, they didn't see the fight. All you heard was ding, ding, poo, 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 ding, ding, and you was like, what happened? And if you was like me growing up and you was possibly stealing cable, sometimes they would send that bullet through and it would cut it off. All right, that's my confession for today. So if you look at how fast this fight is going, it looks slow, right? Ahab was like, yeah, bet. I'm going to go get my 850 guys from Jezebel. You watch. I'm going to ask her. Because you know he couldn't do it without permission. So he go get her. Hey, Jezebel, you think I can take your 850 guys out for the day? Jezebel like, what's the problem? It's Elijah. He out here messing with me again. Take him. Go. So Elijah out there, he like, yeah, I need y'all to go get 2 calves. Grab 2 of them. Get them 2. Give me 2 beefy ones, too. Don't get no little ones. Chop them up. Make the barbecue. Set up how y'all want to do it. I give you the whole day. So Elijah out there, and it's the heavyweight. It's the first punch. Like, they out there, and they're like, oh, they praying to Baal. They got their little thing going. They doing their dance all around the thing. Nothing popping off. And they like, this ain't working. Elijah like, hey, where's that God of yours? Must have had to go and pee. Like, he is really like laying it in and like, no, man, he ain't have to go pee. Cha, they start like ninja cutting themselves up. Yeah, blood squirting everywhere. Because remember, blood did what? No. In this case, blood was what? Why did it? It was life. They were paying for it. They believed they had to pay the God to make this. Because what did God say that blood was? The life, right? Life is in the blood. So they're like, man, we giving up our blood. They out here, falling all over the ground, bleeding. So how many of y'all think went out in a cut session? Just give me an average number. Did anybody die in the cut session? 850. They all just cut themselves up. And they did this all day. Like out there cutting themselves, doing their little dances, nothing. All types of stuff. Elijah's still out there like, now you got to think about Elijah. This, I know I can go in the house and get my cousin because he going to come outside and beat y'all up. So Elijah's outside talking real big like, oh, man, your God ain't show up. Look at all y'all bleeding. And he like making fun of him just constantly. Elijah's like, nothing is happening. Or is your God, maybe he's asleep. Somebody go set his alarm clock. You remember like the Flintstones with like the bird to come out and chip on a rock and, all right, watch a lot of TV. So nothing is happening. There is no alarm clock going off. Now here's where when in boxing, right? You watch that combination punch. It's like that 1-2, and it's like that setup one, boop. And you're like, yeah, man, that next punch, that guy gone. So Elijah do that. He sets it up. He says, hey, dig me a trench. And when you dig in the trench, put some water in it. And while you're putting water in it, did y'all guy wake up yet? No, he's still asleep. Okay, put some water in it. David, I want the bigger cow. I don't want the little one because I'm getting ready to go in the house and get my cousin. He going to come out here and whoop all of y'all. How many died so far? None? You ever watch like that boxing and the other boxers just getting whooped on and you like, what movie was that? Rocky. Remember Rocky when Ivan Drago was beating Apollo and the coach was like, throw in the towel. Like Ahab should have been screaming at somebody throw in the zeets. Help us because it's going bad. But nobody did that. Zeets is those little tassels that they wear on. All right, cool. But nobody's doing that. So Ahab finally digs a moat, wets the sticks, wets everything, just wet it all. And then he goes in the house and get his big cousin. He prays, and what happens? And the fire did what? Do y'all see it? Do y'all see these fools out there cutting themselves and doing all that yelling and screaming all day long? And then you see Elijah just walk up and be like, God, set this cow on fire real quick. Whoosh, I did that. Like, no, he didn't do that. He just stepped back. And what happened next? Did we see a change in the people? Who's God? Who?
That God is God.
God is God. Is it the God that came out with Baal? Is it the God that came out with Asherah? This was proof. So now not only did this man come into the land, because remember I told you I was telling you about Elijah, that he came into the land, he performed miracles. First, we see him being sustained by God. Like Ahab was taken care of by God. We see that. This is where the representation of, he says, the way maker. We see that Jesus was through his whole life. They said, how long was Jesus taken care of by God? From you conceived me in the womb. From day one, Jesus understood he was taken care of by God. Elijah, we can't say the same thing, but when he came into that understanding, Elijah moved. You see, Elijah only speaks and does what God says in a land where it's barren. People don't have the opportunity. They're ready for death. He's bringing a positive message of life. I come, I bring restoration. I bring water. I bring food. Not saying he's saying he bring it, but he's speaking on the behalf of the Lord every time he step up. And now he's just showed them that the gods that you pray to, you're doing all of these exaggerated things and getting no answer. You serve a God that can be mocked. He doesn't step up and challenge those that are trying to take him or overthrow him. You serve a weak God, and you are out here doing so much. And all I had to do was ask. You see what I'm saying? He's confronting everything. He's letting everybody know that all you have to do is ask. And even when you don't ask, you're still provided for. He still give you the means. As you can see, Elijah's life was a testament to how he was the way in a land where they didn't believe miracles. Again, remember what I said. If you don't think that I'm telling the truth about the story getting out and circulating, we'll find that out when we start to talk about Elijah, how these rumors, how this information is starting to spread in a kingdom. Things that were did here are now being heard here because people are talking in a land where there was no conversation about the Lord. Elijah, if you look at it, he's brought God back into Israel. You can tell that the people, the woman, your God. When Elijah's performing miracles, they bring their God, Jezebel God. You can see that Israel is void. He reminds them that it's not just the new God that you guys are worshiping. You still got the old ones from your father here. I'm here to remind you that I shut up the heavens. This is God. I shut up the heavens. I perform miracles for people who y'all thought was less worthy. I fed, I raised the dead. I put your priest to shame with simple feats. You know, it wasn't even tough for God. God was like, all right, man, I'm just start a fire over there real quick. I got to go save the universe. You see what I'm saying? Like when we look at what was done here, you start to see a shadow of a lot of things that were in the New Testament that Jesus Christ performed. He made a way. So when it came to these two lands, because we're not done. We're only dealing with Israel right now. Just because Judah's over there nice and quiet, we got a whole lot of prophets that are going to go talk to them. And some of those books are standalone. We're not going to get into them, but we will get into some of the things that they said. I think this might be a good place to stop. I'll pick back up and go through. Well, I got a couple minutes just to read it. Let's clarify it. Get through the whole story. Whew. I'm not a speed reader, but I'm going to try my best. And now send together all of Israel to me on Mount Carmel, the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah, who eats at Jezebel's table. Ahab then sent for all the children of Israel, this is everybody, and gathered the prophets on Mount Carmel. And Elijah came to all the people and said, how long will you keep hopping between two opinions? Remember what I told you all about Ahab being stuck. He's the head and he's stuck. Two opinions, worship Yahweh or worship Baal. Worship Asherah, just worship something. Sounds very familiar to Laodicea, right? I'd rather you pick. Now that's a whole different rather you pick, but we can hear that language being spoken of. How long would you keep hopping between the two opinions? If Yahweh is God, follow him. If Baal, follow him. But the people answer him, not a word. We see the state of the people. They didn't even say anything. Nobody confessed who they was following. I guarantee right now, if I asked everybody openly in this classroom, who you follow, Christ would be the answer, without question. But these people didn't say a word. And Elijah said to the people, I alone am left as a prophet of Yahweh. Now you see why Elijah said he's alone. He's the last one. The people had an opportunity. Somebody could have stepped up, but nobody did. So we see that the sins aren't just on Ahab, but on the people too. And Elijah said to the people, I alone left as the prophet of the Lord. but the prophet of Baal are 450 men. Now then, give us 2 bulls and let them choose 1 bull for themselves. He even gave them first cut. And cut them into pieces and lay it on the wood, but set no fire. And I prepare the other bull. Man, you got to think. Elijah out there, he cut the bull up himself. Just thinking in my brain. And shall lay it on the wood, but set no fire. And you shall call on the name of your mighty one. Here it might say God or Lord. And I call on the name of Yahweh, the God who answers by fire. He is God. So all the people answered and said, the word is good. And Elijah says, when they said the word is good, it wasn't saying that the word was good. They were agreeing to the terms of what was getting ready to happen. Remember, the people didn't say anything. They haven't made any allegiance. But what they did do right now is, and I'm going a little over here, what they did do is they agreed to what's getting ready to happen. And Elijah said to the prophet of Baal, choose 1 bull for yourself, prepare it first, for you are many, and call on the name of your God, but set no fire. So they took the bull which was given and prepared it, and called on the name of Baal from morning, evening, until they had no voice and no one answered. And then they leaped about the sacrificing place or the offering plate, which they had made. And it came to be at noon that Elijah taunted them and said, cry aloud, for he is a God. Is he meditating, or is he busy, or is he on a journey? Or could it be that he is asleep and has to be awakened? And they cried aloud and cut themselves according to their rulings, with knives and spears, until the blood gushed out of them. And it came to be, when the midday passed, that the prophets, until the time of the bringing of the evening offering. So the evening offering is coming. This is when Israel would have been the time that they would have made their offering. All right. But there was no voice and no answer, and no one was paying attention. He's talking about Baal. Then Elijah said to all the people, come close to me, draw near. And all the people came closer to him, and he repaired the offering place of the Lord that was broken down. And Elijah took 12 stones. Remember them 12 stones? They keep popping back up. Anytime something's going to be done, Israel is not forgotten as a whole. Even though separated, even though fractured with war, it's never been forgotten as a whole. And Elijah took 12 stones according to the number of the tribes of sons of Jacob, to whom the word of the Lord had come, saying, Israel is your name. And with the stones he built an offering in the name of the Lord, and made a trench around the offering place, enough to hold 2 seahs of seed. And he arranged the wood and cut the bull into pieces. Told you he was doing this all by himself. And he laid it on the wood and said, fill 4 jars of water and poured it. And on the ascending offering and on the wood, then he said, do it a second time. So he didn't drench it just once. He made sure it was doused. And they did it a second time. And he said, do it a third time. Bring me some more. And they did it a third time. And the water flowed around the offering place, and it filled the trench with water too. And it came to be at the time of bringing in the evening offering. Remember, it was a time that Israel was supposed to offer. That Elijah, the prophet, came near and said, Lord God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known today, you are in Israel. Very, very, very specific, right? You are in Israel, and I, your servant, have done all these matters by your word. What matters? The water? Has Elijah did anything? Has any miracle been performed right now at this moment? Right. So Elijah. So what? And the reason why I'm pausing here, and I'm kind of put an end to it here. This is the sentence that's easy to look over when you're thinking about what Elijah is talking about. He's talking about all the things that were done at the house, all the things that were done that is being heard right now. These are things that everybody in the town is saying, because remember, who's out there? All the people. Why call all the people when you only ask for the priests? because this information is going out there and people are talking about it and they're saying, Elijah, no way he could have did that. No way he could have brought his son back to life. Because when we get to Elijah, we're going to have somebody say, bring your son in here for proof. Did he really do that? We're going to see that Elijah in this one sentence is basically saying, dear Lord, prove that the oil was multiplied. Dear Lord, show them that you brought them back to life. Dear Lord, I said you showed me where I was sustaining water, and I told everybody, show them this just by setting this on fire. So when they leave here, everybody would have seen you come down, the God of fire, boom, rain down on here, start the fire, and they would leave understanding that everything I said is true. See what I'm saying? When we look at what Jesus said, it's kind of that similar message. Dear Lord, when I'm done on this cross, show them everything that I said is true. So we see how he's making a way. We're going to pause right there. I know I went over a little bit. Thank y'all for the extra time. Questions?